Okay, guys, so let's go through and we are going to finish up talking about the European explorers. Um, so this is where we left off on your notes. So as we add notes on here, you guys can pause this so that you can copy them down onto your note sheet. So you definitely need to have these copied onto your note sheet. So we talked about Portugal. Let me flip through here so you can get to the map. So we really started, mostly we've talked about Portugal. Diaz is the guy who sailed all the way around Africa here, gets down to the Cape of Good Hope, says, yeah, great, we can sail around Africa, turns around, comes home, maps the side of Africa as he goes. Don't forget that. Then we talked also about Da Gama, who left Portugal, doesn't sail along the coast until he gets to the eastern side here because that one hadn't been mapped yet. And then he's actually going to stay close to the coast, map it, check it out, and then head over to Calicut. From here, they know that they can sail from India over to the Spice Islands, so they're feeling pretty confident. He is going to turn around and come back and go back the same way that he came. Also, of course, checking out Africa because remember, Prince Henry wanted to control Africa, not just explore a way to get over here to the Spice Islands. He also wants to control Africa eventually. We also talked about Columbus for Spain. Of course, he's Italian, but he is sailing for Spain. He wants to sail west to get over here to the east. Obviously, it could work because the globe round, but he doesn't know about all of this land. He lands in the West Indies here, which he believes is the East Indies. That's why he called the Indians Indians. They're actually Native Americans. Once he realizes this is a whole new thing and not the East Indies, they rename this to the West Indies. So today we are going to talk a little bit about a couple more people who are going to do some exploring. So I want to point out to you guys real quick what we've got going on here. Up here, we have other countries besides Spain and Portugal. So England is this red country, and they're going to come over and check this stuff out. Cabot is the first one to sail from there. We are going to have Cartier. He is from France, which is this purple one. Cartier is actually going to come inland because they're still looking for a water route. So maybe this river is going to lead them across the water. They don't know. So they check this out. This waterway will lead to Lake Ontario, which leads to Lake Erie, which leads to all the rest of them. This is how the Great Lakes and our state actually get explored, is the explorers coming down this waterway. Hudson is interesting. He's sailing for the Netherlands. I'm sure that there's a reason he sails like this. Check this out. He goes up here. It's like, where are we going? I don't know. Okay, turn around. It's like your GPS. Recalculating. And so they come back this direction and end up along the coast here. So those are where those explorers are coming from. Let's talk about our next one. So we left off on Vasco da Gama. Let's talk about Balboa. So Vasco Nunez de Balboa is going to be somebody for Spain. He's right here, 1510 to 1513. And so he is going to be the solid dashed line you see right here, or the solid line. It's not solid dashed. What he is going to do is follow this dashed line because this is going to be the same route that they're going to take from Spain to get to the Caribbean every single time. He's actually in the Caribbean. He's in the West Indies. He's living there. And he is talking with some of the natives in this area about still wanting to find water over here. And so they tell him, we can do that. We can totally do that for you. And so they figure that they're going to hop on a boat, a ship. It's a ship, right? It's big. They do that. They hop on that. And they're going to head over to this area in Central America that you see here. This is where Panama is today. Of course, we have a canal there, a man-made waterway that ships can go through, but they don't have the means to do that back then. It is the thinnest part of Central America land-wise. So they get there, they land on this side, they hack their way with hatchets through the rainforest because that's what the land is like there. And then they are going to find over here, there's water. Yay, he found it. He found the water. He's going to call this the South Sea. He does not call this the Pacific Ocean. That's somebody else who names it that. So they cross over, and here they are. Good news, bad news. Good news. There's water over there, which means there's probably a way to sail all the way around to get to the East Indies. However, bad news. How do you get your ship on this side? Like, there's hundreds of miles right here. How do you do this? So even though he is the one that we say is going to discover the Pacific Ocean, he's the first one, it doesn't do a whole lot to actually help their situation. So that's problematic right there. So let's go ahead. You can pause this right here. Balboa is going to discover the Pacific Ocean. That's where Panama is at today. And he sailed for Spain. So you can go ahead, pause this, write this on your notes, and then go ahead and start the video again. We're going to move on now and talk about our next guy named Ferdinand Magellan. So Magellan is also going to sail for Spain, even though I'm pretty sure he's Portuguese, actually. He is the dotted line. So we've got dashes here, we have a solid one here, and then he is going to be the dotted line. Now, he's convinced that because there's ocean over here, he's going to find a way around it. So he gets together a crew. He's got 5 ships, maybe 20 people per ship-ish, I'm thinking. They sail right through here. Once they get to the coast of South America, they stick very, very close, just like the previous explorers did around Africa. So they're mapping as they go. And in addition, they basically just kind of, want to stop. If there's an inland bay where it has like a mouth of a river, they want to check that out, because what if that river actually goes all the way across this land? So they're definitely going to stop and check any of those out. So it's time consuming. That's key to understand here. As they continue, they get all the way down. They've stopped a couple times. They're going to make it all the way down here to what we call the Strait of Magellan. So straits are basically any waterway that sort of go between islands and bodies of land like this. So if you've ever been to Mackinac, the water that goes between the upper and lower peninsula goes under the bridge. That's called the Straits of Mackinac. So here, they're going to make it through. So I got to tell you guys though, the water here is crazy. It's choppy and they have storms. It has something to do, I think, with the Pacific meeting the Atlantic, and then underneath there's the Antarctic, and it's all that cold water coming up. But they make it through. Plus there's all these islands. So you got to be careful you don't get run aground. You don't want to crash your ship into land. Like, that's bad. But they make it. It took them 1 year and 2 months to sail from Spain to get through the Straits of Magellan. And of course they stopped here, kind of, along the way, but still, that's a long time to be gone. So they round the Straits of Magellan, and his crew is like, woohoo, we did it. Congratulations, sir. You were right. We can get around South America. There's ocean. They call it the South Sea originally. It's there. We see it. And so let's go home and tell everybody. And Magellan's like, I don't know about this. So he's going to round this. He renames this. He's the one who names it Pacific Ocean, which of course we know it as. That's a Latin word that means peaceful. So that's where the Pacific gets its name. And once they get to this point and the crew wants to turn around, he's like, no, we're so close, you guys. Why would you want to turn around? And so he's basically at this point going to try and convince them we need to keep going. He says, give me 3 weeks. 3 weeks. We will be in the Moluccas or the Spice Islands in 3 weeks. And so very, very begrudgingly, the crew agrees and they continue to sail. There's a few problems here. Mainly, when they made this huge voyage that took them a year, they were able to stop. All those rivers that they stopped at, that's fresh water, right? They could also get food in these places. Once they leave the straits here and head west into the open water, there's no fresh water and there's no more food. 3 weeks, he thought he was ready. 3 weeks turned into 4, turned into 5, turned into 6, and 4 months later, they end up in the Philippine Islands over here. By the time they get here, he's lost a bunch of his crew. People, they didn't have proper nutrition or nutrition at all. They did not have good water. You can't drink the seawater. Salt water is not good for you. Once they get to the Philippine Islands, the crew has a mutiny. So mutiny is when you overthrow the captain, like you take over. Not only do they overthrow him, but they kill him too. Like they're that mad at him. So this is the end of this journey for Magellan. His crew has a huge, huge thing that they have to figure out now. Do we continue sailing this way, right? Do we keep going west to get home? Do we turn around and go the way we came? In the end, they end up, you can see that they sort of stop here in the East Indies. They kind of go through the Moluccas. They go around. More open sea, you guys. This isn't great for them. They don't necessarily know where they're going. It's uncharted. They get past the Cape of Good Hope. Hopefully that gives them hope they're almost home. And then they're going to eventually get here and go back to Spain. By the time this happens, they have been out to sea for 3 whole years. I mean, at some point, the people back home pretty much just had to assume they were lost at sea and dead, right? So 3 years, they finally make it back. There's 1 ship left and only 18 sailors. It's not a great number. It's not a very good ratio. So Magellan is obviously dead, and his crew, basically, what's left of it, comes back. One of them wrote, I believe of a certainty that no one will ever again make such a voyage. So we say that they are the first ones to circumnavigate or go all the way around the globe. People say it was Magellan, although technically it's his crew, right? Because he only makes it about halfway. So yeah, that one is not great for him. So you can go ahead and add 1519. Ferdinand Magellan circumnavigates the globe, even though it's technically his crew. He also names the Straits of Magellan after himself. Not shocking. If you're an explorer, you get to name stuff after yourself. So moving on, our next person is not an explorer the way that these guys were. So this guy's name is Amerigo Vespucci. He is actually from Italy, and he's living in Brazil. So he traveled there once they start to settle this area. And he is a cartographer or map maker. He is going to go out and about and go on expeditions in Brazil, and he will keep notes in his journals. He will draw things out in his journals. And so in the end, they're able to build some really great maps based on the things that he wrote down, and he's able to obviously do some of that maps as well. The cool thing about him is that this is where the word Americas comes from. It comes from his first name. And so they named the North and South America after him. Not real creative. North, South, whatever. It's fine. So he is a map maker. And again, they name the Americas after him. So I want to show you guys, this is obviously our map. This is an old map. So this map comes from the mid 1400s, okay? And you can see that Europe is, I mean, it looks kind of like Europe, right? We've got Spain right here. You can see there's like Italy and Greece, the peninsulas. You can sort of see this boot where Arabia is, but Africa's just kind of a big old mess right here. Asia's kind of a big old mess right here. It's not good, right? These maps are not good. Europe is okay because that's where they live. So, I mean, they're able to map that because this is where they live. Not so much Africa. Hasn't really been, like the coastline here has been explored, but they hadn't gone down the coast yet the way that we saw from those Portuguese sailors. So it's like, hey, there's land over there. Just draw something. I don't know. I don't know what it looks like. Just draw some land. We're going to see a big change though. Okay, so this is one that somebody like kind of drew out from this, this is kind of what it looks like, right? It's a big mess, basically. By the mid 1500s, however, this is the map that we see. So Europe, even better than it was before. Africa looks like Africa. You've got Madagascar right here. Hey there. We've got Saudi Arabia, of course. India exists. Like this is India? What? India is not this big, you guys. It's not. So you can see those changes. Even these islands, like look at how detailed and how many of them there are. So this is good. Over here, not quite as much. It's okay. I mean, it looks sort of like South America. It needs to be longer and like skinnier in the middle. It sort of looks like a chicken breast, actually, if you look at it. Same here. You can see that they had definitely been in this area because there's a peninsula right here. It sticks out. You can see Panama's very skinny. Florida's right here. Even up the coast, kind of pretty much looks like it. But then you go anywhere out here, it's like, yeah, we know there's land out there. Don't know what it looks like. So as these explorers are going to be working, they will continue to map better. But because this map is not accurate, this leads us to our next thing. So you have to imagine that there's a line that runs right here. So you can even see the different colors. This is pink and then this is the yellow. Imagine there's a line that runs imaginary right through here. It's called the line of demarcation. In real life, that line would actually run through the ocean. But because their map is not accurate, they thought that it was more like this, like running right through where the U and the R in South America is on this map, right? So this is going to create something called the line of demarcation. It is separating the New World, right, the Western Hemisphere. It is separating it, and they're going to divide the land between the Portuguese and the Spanish. So the line of demarcation, dividing line for the New World. But how do you decide how to divide it? Well, they signed a treaty, of course. Okay, they didn't fight over it because remember, wars fought over land most of the time. They create a treaty called the Treaty of Tordesillas. The Treaty of Tordesillas gives everything that's east of that line to the Portuguese. Everything in the new hemisphere. It doesn't, not the old stuff, just the new stuff. Everything east of it goes to Portugal. Everything west of it goes to Spain. So I just want to show you guys, if we check out this map, that dividing line's right here. Pretty much that means this chunk of land goes to Portugal. Everything else goes to Spain. Today, this is where Brazil's at. Brazil speaks Portuguese because of this, because it's where the Portuguese settled. 90% or so of Central and South America speak Spanish because of this treaty, because the Spanish settled that. But let's be serious, this is not a fair treaty, right? It's like a little tiny piece. Like Brazil's a good sized country, but not in comparison to everything else that Spain is getting. Plus, what about these guys? They're explorers too. How come they're not included in this treaty? So definitely the other European countries, France, the Netherlands, Europe, or England, they're not happy about this treaty because it excludes them. This is part of the reason that they settle up here instead of down here where the Portuguese and the Spanish were already starting to settle. So in the end, Brazil goes to Portugal, everything else goes to Spain. Again, not super fair, but it is what it is. So in the end, we are going to now see that Portugal will continue to spread into Africa, which is eventually going to lead to the slave trade, which is eventually going to lead to extending that all the way into the New World. So we're going to see more of those explorers and what they're kind of doing in the New World to, you know, not be good to the people who already lived there.